Capital One. Caitlin Clark, the all-time leading scorer in Division I history, about to play her final collegiate game. So too is Camila Cardoso, an All-American ticketed for the WNBA lottery. Lisa Bluter, 24 seasons at Iowa in her second straight title game. And Dawn Staley trying to become just the 5th coach to win 3 national championships. The stage is set, and we are ready to go.
We didn't get here by accident. We didn't arrive here by chance or charity.
They've done it in perfect fashion.
All that chatter? White noise. We are not interested in stories we did not author or authorize. We know our power. We know our strength. We know our ability. We know the obstacles, the stakes, the chill of your spine when history is watching you. What shot might make you immortal?
She's a leader of women.
We wouldn't be at this point if it was just one player.
The offense has come alive.
What records will be the next to fall?
Perfection from South Carolina.
Whose names will echo off the rooftop?
We dominate, that's what we do.
Just proud of our team to be able to play on this big stage and meet the moment.
What teams will dance with destiny and leave it all on this floor?
It's the national championship. It's the last game of my career. I don't think motivation will be hard to come by.
Yeah, we're going to have to play our butts off.
We will etch our own names in history.
We got one more game left. Just got to come out wanting it more.
New numbers will be lifted to the rafters. More statues will be built and legacies left.
This team is sending a message.
Our court to claim.
Our team is mostly focused on celebrating each other.
Our crown to earn.
Historic night around the women's basketball world.
Our time is now.
I was the little girl dreaming of being up there, and now I am.
It's special. I think it's just the joy we've brought to people, the way people are recognizing women's basketball.
At the 2024 Women's Championship.
It all comes down to this. Will it be undefeated South Carolina or Iowa for the very first time? As we welcome you courtside. Hey everybody, Ryan Rucco alongside the Hall of Famer Rebecca Lobo. We are so happy to be with you this Sunday afternoon on ABC. The excitement around this game, partner, is just incredible.
Ryan, you could not have scripted a better ending to this magical women's college season. You have an undefeated South Carolina team looking for redemption and an Iowa team led by a star and unlike any we have ever seen.
And that star, of course, is Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark is the best offensive player the women's college game has seen in 30 years. It's a combination of what she can do. Led the nation at just under 32 points a game, steps back and hits the logo threes. An incredible passer. Also led the nation in assists at 9 per game, and she has become part of a women's basketball movement.
You see the points and assists for Clark leading the nation in both of those categories. Meanwhile, for South Carolina, they have so many key contributing players. Their posts, though, dominant with Camila Cardoso and Ashlyn Watkins.
Incredible inside game for South Carolina, and it starts with the starting center, and that's 6'7" Camila Cardoso. She demands the ball inside, plays with great efficiency, coming off a game where she dominated. 22 points, 11 boards, and then coming in off the bench, perhaps the best athlete on either team. Ashlyn Watkins, 20 rebounds in that semifinal win over NC State.
Huge performances from both Cardoso and Watkins to get South Carolina to this point today as we send things over to another Hall of Famer, Holly Rowe.
When Tahina Paopao decided to transfer, she was looking for a place where she would be surrounded by other players who wanted to be as great as she did. She found a forever home with the Gamecocks. She said from day one it has felt like family, and Dawn Staley has built a roster of loaded superstars who are also very unselfish. Look at what's happened during the NCAA tournament. In 5 games running up to tonight, 4 different leading scores in those games. Players say say we have one goal. We don't care who does it or how we get there. This unselfish attitude has them chasing perfection tonight. The we over me is working for the Gamecocks. See if they have some fun tonight doing just that.
Well, they are one win away from an undefeated season. We're ready to set the stage further, and we'll send things over now to public address announcer Jamie Coffey.
At this time, we ask those willing and able to please rise to honor America and those who support our freedom at home and abroad. Today, the flag displayed along the court is held by the women of NASA, scientists, engineers, and leaders from here in Cleveland and across the country. And presenting the colors are the NCOs from the Cleveland Recruiting Battalion, U.S. Army. And now, please join recording artist Michelle Brooks Thompson in the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' bright glow, the bombs bursting in gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the
Please let's hear it for Michelle Brooks Thompson.
A brilliant national anthem as we get ready for the start of action between Iowa and South Carolina. South Carolina, the 11th undefeated team to reach the championship. 9 of the previous 10 have gone on to win. This is the 9th title game between the AP top 2 teams. And of course, Rebecca, this is also a rematch from last year's semifinals. South Carolina went into that game undefeated as well. And then Iowa, of course, ended that en route to advancing to the national championship.
Many of the South Carolina players talked to us about how that has fueled them coming into this game, but it's a very different style of play for South Carolina. They have the shooters this year that they didn't have last year that would have helped them advance.
So much attention around this game. For a second straight year, Iowa has grabbed the attention of the nation, and they're ready to go tonight.
I won't back down. No, I'm coming for the crown. Yeah, I won't back down. Cause it's now or never. It's now or never. Now or never.
Now here is Jamie Coffey for the Iowa starting lineups, brought to you by Capital One.
And now, the starters for the Hawkeyes. At Ford, a 6'2" sophomore from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Number 45, Hannah Stolke. At guard, a 5'11" junior out of Chicago, Illinois. Number 3, 6-foot grad student from Edwardsville, Illinois, number 20, Kate Martin. At guard, a 5'9", fifth year out of Cincinnati, Ohio, number 24, Gabby Marshall. And at guard, a 6-foot senior from West Des Moines, Iowa, number 22, Caitlin Clark.
We're ready to go. How about South Carolina on the precipice of perfection, looking for championship number 3?
Now on a different level, going to the top, yeah. Never gonna stop for nobody, never try to drop, no, never. Now on a different level, going to the top, yeah. Never gonna stop for nobody, never try to drop, no. To the top, yeah.
Now time for the South Carolina starting lineup. It's brought to you by Capital One.
And now the starters for the Gamecocks. At 4 to 6'2" sophomore out of Oviedo, Florida, number 21, Chloe Kitts. At center, a 6'7" senior from Montes Carlos, Brazil, number 10, Camila Cardozo. At center, a 5'9" sophomore out of Atlanta, Georgia, number 25, Raven Johnson. At guard, a 6-foot junior from Dayton, Ohio, number 23, Bree Hall. And at guard, a 5'9" senior out of Oceanside, California, 0 Tahina Pow Pow. And introducing the head coaches for the Iowa Hawkeyes, Lisa Bluder. And for the South Carolina Gamecocks, Dawn Staley.
Iowa and South Carolina getting ready to go. A handshake exchange between Lisa Bluder and Dawn Staley. Dawn Staley has talked about how her team has not been showing tightness at all, any nerves, any pressure about completing perfection, but she said, I feel it, and our coaching staff shoulders it. Meanwhile, Lisa Bluder, as she said last year and has said again this year, win or lose today, this season has been such a massive success. She never could have dreamed of this moment for women's basketball growing up in Iowa, playing their famous 6-on-6, and is just so grateful to have her team here in this moment. You heard her tell Holly earlier, if it was a 5-game series, she's not sure she feels so good about the chances in taking 3 of those 5. But in one game, anything can happen, and Iowa looking to end perfection for a second straight year against South Carolina. Caitlin Clark, Kate Martin, Gabby Marshall will all play their final collegiate game today. Camila Cardoso will play her final college game as well. South Carolina has not lost since falling to Iowa in the semifinals a year ago, seeking redemption and a title today. Stolke and Cardoso to jump it up. And the 6'7" Cardoso whacks it over to Kitts. South Carolina controls, and the national championship is underway.
Iowa starting in man-to-man, and you saw on the jump circle the incredible size advantage Cardoso has.
Here's Kitts, twisting, can't finish, and Martin the rebound for Iowa. Here is Clark flicking it ahead. Stolke turns. Good movement here. Martin's three is good. A strong start for the Hawkeyes.
Lisa Bluder told us it will be important for Kate Martin to hit some threes from the perimeter, giving up some size as well in her matchup.
Here's Raven Johnson. No, good box out there, and Clark comes down with the rebound for Iowa. Here is Clark weaving through traffic, bouncing. Stolke can't finish it as Cardoso there to contest.
You see the fast pace. Both of these teams like to get up and down and play quickly.
Many differences for South Carolina from a year ago as Pow can't hit and Marshall the rebound. One of them, though, just how much faster they play than they did last season. Here's a Falter. Sydney Falter has slid into the starting lineup for the injured Molly Davis. Done a wonderful job. There's Kate Martin driving it. Will take and pop it in. It was those mid-range jumpers from Kate Martin that really carried Iowa to the finish line against UConn.
And because of all the defensive attention Caitlin Clark gets, her teammates know that some drives will be there for them, whether they end up in layups or mid-range jumpers.
Cardoso can't flip it in, trying to get to it. Loose ball, Iowa has it. 3-on-2 developing. A Falter looking to take it inside and does. What a start for the Hawkeyes.
Incredibly important for Iowa's confidence. They have scored 7, none of them by Caitlin Clark.
They've also gotten 4 straight stops against South Carolina to begin this game. They dump it into Cardoso. Triple team comes. Cardoso can't finish. Here comes Iowa. Clark has it. Clark thinking about taking instead into the lane. Can't flip it in, and it's knocked out of bounds by South Carolina. Stays here.
Iowa can thrive in transition. Caitlin Clark's head always up. Outstanding with the get ahead, the passing. 4 players touch it before getting the wide open look.
Here's a Falter looking to drive it again. Needs help this time. Flings it out. Clark open 3 is good. A 10-0 right hook from Iowa to begin the national championship game. Cardoso finally gets South Carolina on the board.
I would continue to look at Cardoso.
Here's Clark, the crossover. She gets fouled. She gets fouled shooting from 3 and will take 3 free throws here as Bree Hall picks up the personal.
An incredible start for Iowa. Everyone getting involved, doing it in different ways. Transition, mid-range attacks. You see the push-off there by Clark. Cardoso contests, but we've seen Caitlin Clark time and again hitting shots with players in her face.
And Clark, fortunate she did not get called for a foul there on that push-off. You could see the South Carolina bench rising up, asking for it. That's a really cool note. First player to ever lead Division I in points per game and make it to the national championship game.
Well, that's because they haven't also led Division I in assists per game.
The National Player of the Year for a 2nd straight season, hits all 3 free throws.
Look to Cardoso. She's been getting triple teams. She's a good passer, can find easier looks from her perimeter players.
Pow's 3 is good. Tahina Pow, top 3 in the nation in 3-point shooting percentage. Here's Clark, wheeling, taking, and banking it home. So after her teammates had the first 7, Clark has the last 8 for Iowa.
Deep drop coverage. The mid-range pull-ups are going to be there for South Carolina guards.
They dump it in. Cardoso underneath, lays it home. She was an unstoppable force last season against Iowa, but was coming off the bench. Clark, oh my, from the future. Clark has scored the last 11 Iowa points. Pow, no. Cardoso, Hits gets it up and in. South Carolina relentless on the offensive glass.
It's going to be so important, especially the way Iowa is shooting, for South Carolina to get a lot more field goal attempts.
Clark looking to shake Kitts. Clark knocked away by Kitts. Did a nice job there. Here's Clark. Will take another bomb and gets fouled. Kitts fouls Clark, and she is going right back to the line.
You've seen South Carolina switch at times defensively. Well, bigs, even if they're used to playing on the perimeter, they're not used to playing 25 feet away, trying to contest a guard.
One of the things Caitlin Clark talked to us about was the way West Virginia and UConn defended her. Said it was the best defense she had seen in her collegiate career. Felt grateful that she saw it from West Virginia earlier in the tournament because it prepared her and her team to be able to deal with it against UConn. They also felt it would prepare them for anything they would see defensively today against South Carolina.
And those two teams were able to limit Iowa in transition, set their defenses a little easier.
Clark misses the third free throw. She has the last 13 Iowa points. A 20-9 Hawkeye lead. Hits, mid-range jumper, won't go. Clark the rebound. Clark eyes up always. Clark looking to take Raven Johnson. Clark bounces, the cut from Martin, who misses the layup, and a foul on Addison O'Grady is going to keep things with South Carolina.
Make no mistake, she missed that layup because there were 6'7" long arms between her and the basket.
Ashlyn Watkins, Tessa Johnson will come in for South Carolina. Sanaya Fagan will as well. And here's one of the advantages the Gamecocks have. They have a 9-player rotation. Dawn Staley trusts each of them implicitly with any moment, and she has had the exact right touch all season long for when to pull what string.
Puppet master?
I think so. Dawn Staley in South Carolina in its 4th straight Final Four. Watkins storms in, kicks out. Johnson will fire. Can't hit, long rebound. Watkins, who had 20 boards off the bench in the semifinal. And a foul will keep it here. 4:45 to go in the first. And if you're Iowa, you couldn't have asked for a better one. Caitlin Clark firing away from deep. Yes, you have to guard her even at 33 feet. And Carver Hawkeye enjoying what they're seeing in Iowa City. Here's a look at Fueling the Run, brought to you by Wendy's.
And the fuel has been Caitlin Clark. She has scored Iowa's last 13 points. We've seen her hit from deep, get inside, and how deep? 30 feet on this bomb.
Well, a total Clark eclipse when it comes to the record book. She's now 3rd in career NCAA tournament points. She's 1st in assists. She's 1st in threes made. And yes, you see that sun is now behind her orbit. Caitlin Clark just truly rewriting the record book this season. And on the brink of a little more history, she is just behind Maya Moore and Shamiqua Holtzclaw for the most points ever scored in the NCAA tournament in a career.
It's just incredible. As the moments get bigger, she continues to rise to them.
Full Wiley in off the bench for South Carolina as well. She is a game changer.
Iowa in a zone out of that out of bounds for South Carolina.
Full Wiley, nice dish, and Fagan lays it in.
Point of emphasis for South Carolina at their shoot around this morning. Attack the gaps in the zone. You saw that from Full Wiley.
That foul just before the break was called on a falter. That was her first. Here's Clark, guarded by Johnson. Clark dips in, can't finish, wanted a whistle, did not get it. Here is Johnson off the stop. Tessa Johnson will fling it out to Watkins. Raven Johnson, who's done such a wonderful job running the point this season. Full Wiley spins, can't finish. Rebound Fagan. Fagan nearly loses it, shovels it. Wiley banks it in. More second chance points for South Carolina.
Iowa shooting 60%. South Carolina shooting half of that. They need more attempts.
Martin in the mid-range gets fouled by Watkins. And free throws here for Kate Martin. Hey, the Burden Tarasi Show presented by AT&T, back for its third consecutive year. Currently airing on ESPN. Today's guest list includes Robin Roberts, Snoop Dogg, Nneka Ogwumike, Jalen Hurts, and our buddy Jason Sudeikis is back as well.
Sounds like just a great group to have coffee with.
Or other things.
Fair enough.
There is Jason, who has been a part of the Iowa contingent throughout the latter stages of this tournament. As Martin hits both free throws, Cardoso will check back in for the Gamecocks.
What I've liked from the officiating so far is they've let there be contact when it's not on a shot. They're letting them be a little bit physical inside on the perimeter as well, but always protecting the shooter.
Brenda Pantoja, Joe Vasili, and Angelica Suffren are officials today. Wiley dips inside of Marshall and finishes.
It's going to be really hard for the perimeter players of Iowa to keep her in front of them.
Martin attacks the closeout. Stolke nowhere to go. Finds Marshall. Right back to Stolke. Clark trying to shake free. Raven Johnson doing an outstanding job on her. Instead, it's Martin off on a three, and Raven Johnson the rebound for South Carolina. Nice defensive set there from the Gamecocks. They lob it inside Cardoso. Feels like South Carolina has been able to settle things down now after a torrid start from Iowa. It was 10-0 out of the gates in favor of the Hawkeyes. Johnson can't hit, and a foul here on Stolke as she picks up her first.
Attacking the gaps in the zone, and Mylasia Fulwiley has such great quickness. We've seen it time and again. She got hit on the head there too, how she cups the ball like a running back to protect it as she gets into the paint.
You already have 6 offensive rebounds from South Carolina. In the semifinal last year, which Iowa won, South Carolina was a plus 21 on the offensive glass. Cardoso gets blocked, last hits her, Iowa ball.
Hannah Stolke 6'2", Cardoso 6'7", tries to get around. It's a piece of the ball. Yes, Cardoso last to hit it.
Hannah Stolke said her confidence was sky high after the performance she had in the semifinal against UConn. Here's Clark driving it inside, bounces it, and throws it away. Stolke cut towards her, and Clark threw it where she was. First turnover from Iowa. And first turnover of the game. Fulwiley a three is good. The freshman is unfazed by the stage. A 9-2 South Carolina run. Here's Feuerbach in off the bench for Iowa. And Fulwiley comes up with a steal, then Feuerbach takes it back, and Iowa retains possession.
Raven Johnson done a good job on this possession, keeping the ball out of Caitlin Clark's hands.
Marshall fakes the three, will drive it. Feuerbach will do the same. Feuerbach dives inside, he gets swallowed up by Cardoso. The get ahead to Johnson. Tessa Johnson loses it out of bounds, and it will stay here with South Carolina as Caitlin Clark tells her team to calm down.
Mylasia Fulwiley has shown what she can do. We've seen the dribble penetration inside there, stepping confidently into the three. A difference maker all season long off the bench for South Carolina.
First time we saw Dawn Staley in Paris, very start of the season, she said, Mylasia Fulwiley is a generational player. And we have seen why throughout this year. Flashes of never before seen finishes in the college game.
And for her to come in this moment and be ready right away, remarkable.
Fulwiley will get a breather, so will Raven Johnson after she did such a nice job face guarding Clark over the last few possessions. Tessa Johnson, another freshman, floats it in, and it's a 2-point game.
Lee Hall now with the defensive assignment again on Clark. Look at her hand right in Clark's face.
Clark looking to separate from Hall. Clark, the drive, able to bank it in. And now Marshall nearly comes up with a steal and does. Marshall steals it. A falter looking for help. O'Grady. Clark trying to get open. She will fire. Didn't have the angle and missed it left.
7th time this season that Gabby Marshall has gotten one of those steals in the backcourt.
24-20, Iowa in front of South Carolina. First quarter winding to a close. Here's Hall, looking to attack, lost it. Clark on the steal. Here's Clark, trying to wheel through traffic. Clark, the drive, the kick, and a foul here is going to go against Hall. And that will be the second personal on Bree Hall in this first quarter, a significant foul.
She has good size and length, and this is what she is doing on Caitlin Clark, trying to affect her vision. One of the best passers the game has ever seen. Her hand right in Caitlin Clark's face.
And Raven Johnson back into the game now as Hall goes to the bench after the second foul. You have about a 6-second difference game in shot clock. Here's Clark. Will Iowa wind it down? No, that's why. A stunning opening quarter from Clark. She has 18, the most ever in a championship game quarter. Johnson can't answer. O'Grady the board, and that will do it for the first. Iowa a 7-point lead after one. Holly chats with Lisa Bluter when we get back. How about Caitlin Clark, her final college game? You think she's ready for the moment? 18 in the first. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. The NCAA Women's Championship on ABC is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet? And in part by Wendy's, the official hamburger of March Madness. Start of the second quarter of the national championship game. Iowa a 7-point lead moments ago. Holly Rowe caught up with Lisa Bluter.
Well, Coach Bluter, the shot clock's winding down. Caitlin pulls up for a shot, and I see your body language. You're like, no, and then it goes in. How do you navigate this?
You know, when she feels it, she feels it. Obviously, we're trying to think a little bit more clock management, but hey, I'm gonna take the three.
Your team had a big focus on Camila Cardozo. How do you feel like the post play has gone so far?
It's done a pretty good job, I think. I feel like still we need to box out a little bit better. They're so hard to box out, but we got to really focus on that.
And then just quickly, Mylasia Fulwiley came in and has changed the game. How do you contest her a little better?
Man, she's fast. She's fast with the basketball. She's fast going downhill. I think we got to keep the ball out of her hands in order to stop her, because when she gets the ball, it's pretty hard to contain her.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Holly.
Caitlin Clark is a singular offensive force like we have never seen, and South Carolina knows that. So they're going to send multiple defenders to her, try to keep the ball out of her hands. Raven Johnson first, Bree Hall here, and then sometimes it's going to be a switch. And that means the 6'7" big Cardoso will also be out on the perimeter. But much like earlier times this season, there is not a single answer for slowing down Caitlin Clark.
And with those 18 first quarter points, she has passed Shamika Holtzclaw for the most points in NCAA tournament career history. Start of the second quarter, and Iowa a 7-point lead with the basketball. Clark with 18 in the first, guarded by Johnson. Hall on the bench with 2 fouls. Clark, the little runner, won't go. Almost flipped it up casually. Seen her take a few more non-paint twos to start this game, a shot she's usually reluctant to pull on. Here's Fagan, baited into that. Can't hit. Clark the rebound. And then poked away by Cardoso. Raven Johnson after it, and the possession arrow belongs with South Carolina. Nice heads-up defensive play there by Camila Cardoso, just poking at it.
Those 15-foot shots by the bigs for South Carolina are going to be there. Some of the mid-range pull-ups off the bounce for South Carolina guards are going to be there because Iowa's defense is predicating on hoping that they can force South Carolina into those attempts.
South Carolina 73-1 over the last 2 seasons. Just remarkable. Their only loss last year in the semifinals to Iowa. Here's Johnson. Johnson's mid-range is good. Tessa Johnson, a fearless freshman, delivering off the bench for South Carolina.
And she has been the best South Carolina guard in terms of consistently hitting those mid-range in the tournament.
Here's Clark bouncing, Martin cutting, tried to force it into traffic, could not, and now South Carolina with numbers. Johnson bodies in and finishes. A strong start to the second for the Gamecocks.
How about the freshmen off the bench for South Carolina, both Johnson and Wiley.
Tessa Johnson comes out to meet Clark. Clark evades, bounces. O'Grady gets denied by Cardoso. Now South Carolina will slow things down. Cardoso working O'Grady. Cardoso and the foul. Banks it in. And a chance to tie at the line. Looked like Cardoso had maybe shuffled the feet. That's what the Iowa bench wanted, but instead Cardoso can tie it.
Don Staley has called Kamilla Cardoso the separator because of how she can change things both on the defensive and offensive ends. Block shot one way, foul called for the and one on the other.
You see O'Grady getting the wrist of Cardoso. 6 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, and a tie game. A 7-0 run to start the second for South Carolina.
See Raven Johnson picking Caitlin Clark up full court.
And she has done the best job thus far on Clark. Here's Clark. Clark into the paint. Gets blocked. A falter open. Knocks down the 3. Sydney a falter. Lisa Bluter calls Chicago tough. Cardoso gets fouled on the reach. And it's going to be Kate Martin. That will be her first personal.
Caitlin Clark has been looking to get inside and penetrate. And here, nice block by Johnson. But we've seen this a lot. Caitlin Clark, when a teammate is open, finding them for an open look.
The NCAA Men's Basketball National Championship game between Purdue and UConn Monday, with coverage beginning at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on TBS. For more information, go to ncaa.com. Cardoso misses both, but Fagan there for the finish, as Iowa having all kinds of trouble securing the defensive glass.
And they knew that was going to happen coming into this game against the size of South Carolina.
That'll be a foul on Wiley, and that will be her first.
Puts a lot of pressure on you to make shots, though, Ryan, when the other team, because of offensive boards, is getting so many extra opportunities.
Well, they already have 9 more field goal attempts in this game. And they talked about managing that emotionally as well, knowing that they were going to give up those offensive boards and not to let it debilitate them mentally. Clark. Oh, Marshall looked like she got pushed. No call. Martin fakes the pass. Now dishes. A falter. Will drive it. Good look. And Stokey lays it in. Sydney Falter has been completely under control in these crucial moments of the tournament. Johnson. For Wiley in the corner. Unable to hit. Rebound for Wiley, who follows it up. Can't finish. Cardoso can. Another offensive rebound from South Carolina.
And it started with Wiley, the guard attacking the offensive glass. Now, this is an Iowa team, had 19 fewer field goal attempts against LSU in their regional final.
Marshall thought about the deep 3. Here's Clark curling, faking, asking for the screen. Goes away from it. And a foul on Raven Johnson. And that will be her first.
You're allowed the hot stove touch on the ball handler facing the basket. And Raven Johnson left her hand on Caitlin Clark. It looks like minimal contact, Ryan, but by the rules, it's a foul. Hot stove touch, you cannot continue to touch.
Here's Clark. Clark finds Stolke, who lays it in. Wanted the and one, didn't get it. Dawn Staley also got a warning there from Joe Vasili. She was very upset with that call on Raven Johnson. Here is Cardoso. She has been unstoppable. Johnson in the corner, can't hit. Clark the rebound. Iowa running. A falter, unable to finish. Tessa Johnson, a good contest. Here is full Wiley, the hesitation, the attack, and the block. Sudeikis applauding the defense.
I like the attack by Mylasia Full-Wiley. She often has success doing it. This time, Hannah Stolke comes over, perfectly timed block.
Fagan checks out, Watkins in for South Carolina. Here's Cardoso. Johnson's three is good. Tessa Johnson, no hesitation.
So impressed by this young woman's moxie.
Johnson in for Wiley, just terrific off the bench. Clark thought about it. Hawked by Johnson. Clark backs it away. Looking to take Johnson, and a foul on Tessa Johnson. That will be her first, and the third foul on South Carolina this quarter.
The confidence with which Tessa Johnson is playing on the offensive end of the floor here. A little bit of space, arms not quite outreached by Gabby Marshall, and steps into it.
Clark, too long on that attempt, and South Carolina could take the lead. Here's full Wiley, blurring inside for the bucket. No, a travel, and South Carolina turns it over.
This is where South Carolina defenders need to understand, if the ball, when I'm defending a ball handler, I have to be completely hands off because the officials have set the tone of what they're calling.
Right. Here's Martin, left alone, can't hit. Rebound batted out of bounds by Stolke. It will be South Carolina basketball. How about for Iowa, Rebecca, anything they can do differently on the defensive glass against South Carolina?
Their bigs need to continue to box out. It's going to have to be a full team effort. All of the guards are going to have to go to the glass as well.
South Carolina plus 10 on the glass. Watkins dumping it inside. Cardoso has given the Gamecocks their first lead of the afternoon.
And getting the scores offensively has allowed South Carolina to set easier defensively.
Here's a falter on the cut, and for Wiley, the rejection. Here's for Wiley behind the back, can't reverse it in. Rebound knocked away to Marshall. Here's Clark with Iowa down 2. Clark looking to take Watkins. Clark shimmy, swivels, can't finish. Another chance here for Iowa. Iowa got out to a 10-0 lead in the first. South Carolina has responded. A falter bounces. Stolke able to finish, plus the foul. It'll be number 2 on Watkins, and a chance for 3 for Hannah Stolke. How about the back and forth action here in this national championship game?
We could not have asked for more. These two teams have come to play fearless basketball on both ends of the floor.
Now it's time for Get More, brought to you by Geico.
How impressive have the freshmen for South Carolina been performing on this huge stage? Mylasia Full-Wiley on the offensive end in particular. Tessa Johnson as well. They have come out fearlessly, looking for their offense, playing with confidence. This is a really big moment for any player, but especially a player in her first collegiate season.
And it's one of the things that Dawn Staley has really prepared her bench and her freshmen to handle throughout this season, because she has thrown them into the fire. She has not been afraid to pull any lever at any moment with her 9-player rotation, and you could see the bench delivering so far today, 20 points off it already in this first half.
And a luxury for Dawn, but also for those players. Yes, everyone loves to start, but in this big moment, to get a few minutes under your belt, watching your teammates do their thing, and then just come in and do what you do.
And I thought it was really interesting as Stolke completes the three-point play. Bree Hall told us that's part of the way Dawn Staley recruits. She says, if you want to win a Player of the Year award, if you want to average 25 points a game, this is not the school for you. If you want a chance to win a national championship, then you should come to South Carolina. In the corner, Wiley's three. Off the mark, hits the offensive rebound. Yet another for the Gamecocks. And a foul on a Fulter will put Chloe Kitts at the line. That is a critical foul because it's number 2 on Sydney Fulter.
That time, Iowa in a 2-3 zone. And I was gonna say it's harder to box out in a zone, but I always had a hard time corralling the defensive board no matter what defense they're in. They're just giving up so much size inside.
So you have 2 on a Fulter, 2 on Watkins, 2 on Hall. As Kitts sinks the free throw. Hey, the WNBA draft, Monday, April 15th on ESPN. Coverage begins with WNBA Countdown at 7 Eastern. Then at 7:30, it's the 2024 WNBA draft live on ESPN and the ESPN app. Caitlin Clark expected to be the first pick as Cardoso gets called for the over the back, and it's significant because Iowa is in the bonus. First foul on Cardoso. Dawn Staley in disagreement.
She got a number of offensive boards or touched the ball, using her length and size to reach over. That time deemed too much contact down below.
Stolke has the last 7 Iowa points. You know, that draft, Caitlin Clark expected to be the first pick to the Indiana Fever. Camila Cardoso could go as early as 2. Certainly you don't feel like she's going to slip past 4 in the draft. Here's the WNBA mock. So that is Monday, April 15th. On ESPN, Angel Reese will be in that draft as well. You see Rakia Jackson, Cameron Brink, Aaliyah Edwards, others ticketed for the top 5. Cardoso can't finish. Rebound, scurry, and Martin comes up with it for Iowa. A rare one-shot trip for South Carolina. Can Iowa take advantage? Clark yet to score this quarter after 18 in the first. Finds Martin. Martin sandwiched between 2, able to flip it in. Her in-between game has really shown up at key times in this Final Four. 4-point Iowa lead. Deflected, hits, throws it away, and Feuerbach is fouled by Tessa Johnson. And now Feuerbach will go to the line, and that is number 2 on Tessa Johnson. So South Carolina in some foul trouble here with Johnson, Watkins, and Hall all with 2 personals.
Last 2 possessions, Iowa's been in a tandem 2-3, and they've been able to get stops out of it both times. Lisa Bluter, a coach who will change up her defenses regularly, and a team that's very experienced with it.
No shots here for Iowa. Here's Clark. Iowa didn't have possession yet as Stolke drives inside but can't finish it. Attacked right away with Cardoso on the bench.
First time that there was a good-looking lane because Cardoso not in.
Here's Kitts dumping it down for Fagan. Pow run off the line. Wiley into the corner. Johnson short on a 3. Long rebound, Feuerbach. Clark with space. Clark bounces. Stolke gets denied by Fagan, who's able to keep it in bounds. Nice stop defensively by Sanaya Fagan. Wiley whips it out. Pow. Yes. 1-point Iowa lead. Clark yet to score in the second. Will put up a 3 here. And hit.
You know she loves going left. Raven Johnson forcing her right, and then she went left because she is that good.
Wiley dumps it in. Kitts dumps it down. Fagan has it stripped. Persistent. Big minutes off the bench for Sanaya Fagan. Here's Clark. Had it knocked away. Taken by Johnson. Johnson on the steal. Shovels to Kitts, who lays it in. 44 all. What a first half here in this national championship game.
South Carolina, deadly when they can get out in transition, especially off of turnovers.
Fifth tie of the half. Here's Clark. Clark looking to take Johnson. Clark into the paint, waits, gets denied, goes back up, and a held ball. Iowa has the possession arrow.
Raven Johnson forcing her right, does a good job on that dribble penetration. Here, the screen comes, forcing right. Yeah, the screen's there, goes left, steps back, just creates the space she needs.
We will step aside. South Carolina takes a timeout, tied at 44, under a minute to go in the first half of the national championship game.
The space she creates.
Clark and Iowa going up against the South Carolina machine. A deep one. You bet! Caitlin Clark! And a foul called on Boston.
Where would South Carolina be without Zaya Cook?
Now you see her, now you don't. And the mythical mastery of Caitlin Clark continues. Iowa has conquered South Carolina. Well, Iowa trying to do it again. South Carolina trying to get some revenge. Coming up, Dove Halftime Report. What a high-energy first half. Aaliyah Boston joins our outstanding set. Was part of that, hi Aaliyah, part of that South Carolina team a season ago. The Rookie of the Year in the WNBA this past season and future teammate of Caitlin Clark.
I hope our viewers at home were smart enough to wear a quarter zip with a pouch for their snacks, because you do not want to spend halftime doing anything other than watching our studio show.
They have been incredible. Elle, Drea, Chanae, Coach Peck, Aaliyah. Well, Papa Clark, I'm sure he's got some snacks in there. Clark will inbound, under a minute to go, into Stolke, right back to Clark. Stolke bounces underneath. Martin able to finish. Nice play out of the inbound and the timeout.
Caitlin Clark read it beautifully. She saw that two players came to her. Where's the next pass? Stolke, and then the one more.
How about Kate Martin? 11 points in this first half, her final collegiate game. The player that Lisa Bluter calls the glue of this team. Wiley hopping through, setting up Fagan. Unable to finish, but another offensive rebound. Kitts squeezes it out to Wiley. Pow's three again. Tahina Powell has been massive from three in this first half. She is 3 for 3 from downtown. Shot clock turned off, and Johnson picks the pocket of Clark. Raven Johnson lays it in. What a momentum buster to end the half. Clark, does she get it off? No, and that's how the first half ends. Instead of Iowa holding for one, Raven Johnson comes up with the steal and the score, and South Carolina takes its largest lead of the game into the half. Two massive steals from Raven Johnson towards the end of that half. Sanaya Fagan is now with Holly Rowe.
Well, Sanaya, the story of this ball game has been offensive rebounding. Whether it's you, Camilla, how has this team really owned the glass?
We're just trying to clean up every board that they take, that our shots take, because our shots not falling right now. But we're just trying to clean up every board that's not going in.
You're such a great leader for this team. You actually asked where you could move your seat on the bench so you could help lead the freshmen. What have you thought about them coming in and being so in control?
I just love the fact that they're taking advantage of every opportunity they're giving. They're attacking, they're scoring, they're doing exactly what they need to do.
Thank you, Sanaya.
Thank you.
Well, South Carolina takes a 3-point lead into the half. After the break, Ellen Company will be back for the Dove Halftime Report. That's coming up after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Welcome back to the NCAA Women's Championship presented by Capital One. Getting ready to start the third quarter. Undefeated South Carolina A 49-46 lead on Iowa. As we welcome you back courtside, Ryan Ruocco alongside the Hall of Famer Rebecca Lobo. Not a bad first half for everybody to enjoy. I mean, just incredible. Rebecca, for Iowa, the way Caitlin Clark came out of the gates, and then for South Carolina, the way they can shoot from three this season.
Caitlin Clark looked like a woman on a mission to start this basketball game. Had 18 of her 21 first half points in that first quarter. Stepping into the three-point shot, insisting her way to the basket, Ryan Ruocco, and when she got the deep ones, able to drain. But this is a very different South Carolina team this season. One who can hit three-point shots. Mylasia Fulwiley draws defenders. Tahina Paopao, the transfer, 3 of 3 from deep in that first half, and then the freshman also getting in on it. 5 of 11 from 3 with South Carolina.
Let's take a look at our game track, brought to you by Invesco QQQ. South Carolina, 12 offensive rebounds, a +8 in second chance points, and a +22 in bench points. Iowa did lead for most of the half, but the Gamecocks have been a dominant team in second halves this season, by far and away the best point differential in second halves in the nation, a +510, as we send things over to Holly Rowe.
Checking with Iowa coach Lisa Bluter, rebounding was the story of the first half. She said, we can't grow. We've just got to have better positioning. They did incite one over-the-back call. She talked to them about having their back stronger, straight up and down, get those fouls called a little bit more if you're in the right position. And just before they took the floor, she really tried to encourage her team and said, let's go hard, 20 more minutes, big smiles from everybody. Just got to find a way to get on that glass.
And what a huge steal from Raven Johnson at the end of that second quarter to give South Carolina the three-point lead. She's talked about how this game is personal for her. Can't hit the jumper there, and the rebound ends up with Iowa.
I like giving Raven the first look, though, wondering if that layup at the end of the first half might get her out of a little bit of a shooting funk.
Clark looking to shake free. She does. Short on a three, and Kitt's able to secure the rebound for South Carolina.
An instance where Kitt's arm length was just enough to get the board for her team.
And Hall was on Clark to begin the third with those 2 fouls as Kitt's maneuvers inside. A 5-point edge for the Gamecocks.
So interesting because Chloe Kitt's had a quiet game against NC State in the semifinal, but playing really well here in this championship matchup.
Marshall did not attempt a shot in that first half. Played all 20 minutes. She too playing her final collegiate game. Martin's mid-range won't go. Rebound, South Carolina. The Gamecocks trying to become the first undefeated national champion since UConn in 2016. Kitt's, nice start to the second half for South Carolina. Here's a Fulter left alone, in and out on a three.
This could be a danger zone right here for Iowa, and an opportunity for South Carolina to blow this open.
We have seen that as recently as the semifinals. They were up 1 at the half to NC State. They were up 1 million by the end of the third. Here's Paopao, mid-range jumper, rolls in. How about the start for South Carolina? And Lisa Bluter wanted a timeout, instead Martin. And now Lisa Bluter gets her timeout as Cabby Marshall's three will not count. Bluter does not want this momentum to balloon any further for South Carolina. A 6-0 start to the third.
The sophomore Chloe Kitts here in the third quarter, getting to the rim, then getting the mid-range jumper to fall as well. Her bench crew feeling the splurge.
Well, South Carolina has been in the Final Four now for 4 straight years. Lost in the semifinals, heartbreaking loss at the buzzer to Stanford. And then how do they respond? Well, the next year they come back, they win the championship. Last year, undefeated into the semis, a heartbreaking loss to Caitlin Clark in Iowa. How do they respond this season right now, leading by 9 in the third quarter of the national championship game, as we send things over to Holly Rowe.
Well, how does Iowa respond to this South Carolina run right now? In their last timeout, Caitlin Clark clapping her hands, big smile, we're good, we're good. Lisa Bluter reiterating the importance of putting a body on someone, particularly number 21, Chloe Kitts. She's got 7 boards.
Martin slings it inside. Good movement here. A falter. Can't hit the 3. Second clean look from a falter from 3. Thank you, Ali. That she has not knocked down to begin this third. South Carolina, an 11-0 run dating back to the final 53 seconds of the second quarter. And that's thrown out of bounds by Pow Pow, who has talked about the difficulty of feeding the post, learning the nuances of 6'7" Camila Cardoso, and has relied on Raven Johnson a lot for that, who played with Camila in AAU ball. Just the 5th South Carolina turnover. Here's Clark. Clark pops in, bodies inside and finishes. Tough finish for Clark, who was looking for an and one. She has 23 points. They dump it down. Cardoso gets whacked by Stolke. And free throws here for Camila Cardoso. Hey, the 2024 Men's Frozen Four begins Thursday at 5 and 8:30 Eastern on ESPN2. For more information, go to NCAA.com, your home for all 90 NCAA championships.
Back-to-back possessions that illustrated your point perfectly. Pow Pow throws it out of bounds, trying to get it into Cardoso. Johnson, perfectly delivered.
Holly?
Well, you're talking about that great chemistry with Camila Cardoso and Raven Johnson. Camila's a fascinating story. Leaving Brazil at just 15 years old, she came to high school in Tennessee. She didn't speak a word of English, and Raven was one of the friends that helped her out. They've played together for 8 years. They've had each other's backs in that sacrifice from Camila Cardoso.
Oh, what a dish from Clark, and it'll stay here with Iowa, as Stolke couldn't quite haul it in.
The way she leads her teammates in full speed with perfectly placed passes.
Here's Clark, curling, has Cardoso on her. The step back 3, no, and Kitts the rebound. Cardoso, pretty good contest there for being dragged out on the perimeter and hanging with Clark. Here's Kitts. Has hit some big jumpers in this quarter and gets called for a charge as a falter took the contact. And that will be number 2 on Chloe Kitts. So 2 on Stolke, 2 on O'Grady, and a falter for Iowa. And now 2 on Kitts, Hall, Watkins, and Johnson. Tessa Johnson for South Carolina.
Yeah, certainly did look like she initiated the contact and the defense was there.
Here's Martin behind Stolke. Martin trying to get into the body of Cardoso and backs it out. To the corner, Marshall left alone, connects on a 3, her first field goal attempt of the afternoon. Here's Hall zigging inside, the pull-up is good. Strong take from Bree Hall.
Seen a lot of good looks and successful attempts here in the third quarter in the mid-range for the South Carolina team.
Clark trying to muscle it in, could not. Was looking for a whistle, did not come. Clark 7 of 18 from the floor now. Less efficient after a blistering start to this game. At 18, a Final Four record in the first. Johnson wide open, in and out. Here comes Clark. Clark finds the cutter, what a look! The video game vision of Caitlin Clark. Hannah Stolke up to 11. After she had 23 in the semifinals, and Cardoso throws it off the rim. Held ball here, possession arrow belongs to Iowa. Iowa, nice response here after the strong start in this third from South Carolina.
And it has been the others getting in on the action with an assist from Clark. Gabby Marshall steps in to hit her first 3. And then here's that video game vision for you, Ryan Ruocco. Stokey with the 2.
Now time for today's Need to Know, brought to you by Dick's Sporting Goods. What's at stake today for South Carolina? Well, they'd be the 10th undefeated national champion. They'd be just the 5th program with 3 national titles, and they'd win their 2nd championship in the last 3 seasons. They have been the premier program in women's college basketball over the last 7-8 years. And Dawn Staley trying to become just the 5th coach to win 3 titles.
In this stretch here, my eyes are on Ashlyn Watkins. She only played 3 minutes in that first half. You would expect her to have good legs and bounce and determination here.
Tessa Johnson in as well. Here is Clark. Clark into the paint, spinning and finishing. 2-point game. Nice response from Iowa. Clark has 25. A 9-2 Hawkeye run. Here's Johnson, the freshman. Nice feed. Hall in the corner, unable to hit. Watkins the board. There she is, Rebecca.
That is what she does.
What a dime. Clark, and Stokey misses the layup. Clark put it right in Stokey's lap, but she was unable to finish.
But I love coming back down the floor. Caitlin Clark clapped her hands, gave Stokey 5 as a way to say, it's okay, young player.
One of the things that Clark's teammates credited her with against UConn was her body language, not getting frustrated. How about Tessa Johnson? The freshman again delivering off the bench. The lead right back to 7 for South Carolina. Clark on the drive, has it knocked away by Johnson. Gets it back. Marshall left alone, can't hit. Rebound. Watkins went towering over to get a hand on the rebound.
She certainly helped secure that offensive board for her team.
Big swing, the Stokey missed layup to the Tessa Johnson 3. And now Marshall comes up with a steal. Watkins threw it right to her. Here's Martin. Off to Clark. Deep 3. Won't go. Tessa Johnson the rebound. Clark now 4 of 9 from deep in this game.
But she recognized that she had Watkins on her and wanted to get that look going left.
Iowa in a zone. Raven Johnson looking in. Off to Tessa Johnson. Hall lets it fly. You bet! Bree Hall gives South Carolina a 10-point lead. Here's a Fulter diving in and a held ball. South Carolina has the possession arrow.
Bree Hall stepping into this 3. This is the biggest difference between South Carolina a year ago and this year, as you see Darius Rucker celebrating. This year's South Carolina team has multiple consistent, efficient weapons from the perimeter.
And an 8-0 run from the Gamecocks after Iowa had cut it to 2. They are 7 for 15 from 3. Last year in the semifinal, to your point, Rebecca, they were just 4 for 20.
And you're shooting out of the zone, the defense out of the zone. Iowa back to a man-to-man.
Raven Johnson can't finish. Rebound hits full Wiley's foot, and it's out of bounds to Iowa. Hey, coming in May on ABC and ESPN Plus is the premiere of Full Court Press, a new original series that follows Caitlin Clark, Camila Cardoso, and UCLA's Kiki Rice during this record-breaking basketball season.
Can't wait for that.
Well, we've seen some of what the cameras have caught, and it's very good. They have been everywhere throughout this season. Martin gets denied by Watkins. Martin follows it up and gets fouled by Watkins. That will be number 3 on Ashlyn Watkins.
You see Iowa looking more to get inside the paint when Camila Cardoso isn't on the floor. But Watkins may not be 6'7", but she can certainly elevate and block shots.
Now Cardoso will come and get Watkins after picking up that third. Kate Martin at the line. Iowa's first free throws of the quarter. They were 10 of 11 in the first half. And Martin sinks the first. This is the first time we've ever had the most efficient offensive team playing the most efficient defensive team in a national championship. Iowa, #1 in offensive rating. South Carolina, #1 in defensive rating. Martin ends the 8-0 run. Cardoso back to work. Can't finish. Controlled by a falter. Here's Martin into the lane. Fading away. Can't drop it in. And the rebound for Wiley. For Wiley flips it ahead. Johnson. Another. Tessa Johnson. A freshman in status only. Timeout, Iowa.
South Carolina shooting 50% from three. Dangerous in transition. And how about the confidence, as you've mentioned, of this freshman? Love it. Point to the one who passed it to you.
I'll point to Holly Rowe right now then.
Well, Tessa Johnson, I was talking to her dad, Jamel, and her mom, Danielle, yesterday. They were telling me that she has two older sisters that were both basketball players. One played at Iowa State. And one time, one of them was in 4th grade, and they were short of players. So they called down and got Tessa to come and play. She was just in 2nd grade, 2 years older. And at that age, 2 years is a big difference. And they said she was the best player. She wasn't scared. She just came in. She was confident. She has this exuberant, ebullient personality, and it's just carrying over right now. She is super confident tonight.
Well, she does, Holly. She lights up the room. We've sensed that right away, meeting with her and the South Carolina players who are so connected as a team. They are also incredibly loose, have not felt the weight of their undefeated season at all. There's a falter, bouncing in a crowd, right back to her. She lays it in. That's some good passing in tight spaces from Iowa.
Well, part of it is keep away from Camila Cardoso. She's on you. She's on me. I'm not shooting. I'm passing to you.
A 17-second difference, game and shot clock. 9-point South Carolina lead. Fagan loses the handle, got it back. And a travel, no, a 3-second violation. And now Iowa can hold for a final shot at the end of this third.
When you're in the post, if you catch it and immediately start your move to the basket, you get a fresh 3 seconds. She did not there. As a result, 3 seconds called.
I love how all over the rules you are. You know that rule book inside out.
Outside in.
So at the end of the second, Iowa was down 1, holding for a final shot, and Raven Johnson picked the pocket of Clark and laid it in to end the half. How does the third end? Clark around a screen. Clark, step back 3 is short. Rebound, bounces out of bounds, and it will stay with Iowa, but just .2 on the shot clock. Would have to be a tip. You cannot catch and shoot with 0.2 of a second. Clark lobs it up. O'Grady, no, and that will do it for the third. South Carolina leading by 9, closing in on a championship. Holly Rowe chats with Dawn Staley when we come back. The NCAA Women's Championship on ABC is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet? Those are the undefeated champions through the years in women's college basketball. South Carolina a quarter away from joining them moments ago. Holly Rowe caught up with their head coach, Dawn Staley.
Coach Staley, when you've needed a lift, you've gone to freshmen off the bench. How do you describe the composure and they're taking this moment and seizing it?
I mean, it's all the impact of what their teammates have given them. They're pouring energy into them all season long, knowing that they're pretty talented, knowing that there's a possibility that they'll share time with them. So this team is pretty special in that they they want what's best for each individual on the team, and that's rare.
10 minutes to cap off a perfect season. What will be the most important focus down the stretch?
I mean, the most important thing is to continue to be disciplined defensively, continue to contest shots. I think we're doing a great job at executing our defensive schemes on them. Are we going to be perfect at it? No, it's a really good Iowa team. But if we can decrease the amount of shots that they get that are uncontested, increases our chances of winning.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Holly.
All right, let's remind you to stay tuned for the championship net cutting ceremony brought to you by Werner Ladder. That's coming up after the game on ESPN.
Heard Dawn Staley talking about her freshman. Mylasia Fulwiley has 4 assists in the game, delivers it on the money to the other freshman, Tessa Johnson, who has been so efficient. 6 of 9, 3 of 5 from 3.
Keys for Iowa to get back in down 9 to start the 4th.
They have to find ways to get some open looks and capitalize on every single one of them.
Clark was 0 for 4 from 3 in that 3rd. Here is Clark. 25 points tonight, 18 of them in the first quarter. Clark bounces, Stolke in a crowd, gets fouled. And Hannah Stolke will go to the line to begin this 4th.
Iowa was so good and efficient scoring the basketball in that first quarter when they were able to get stops and get out in transition and really run and be in their flow and have Caitlin Clark feeling it. South Carolina's defense has been really good since then. Certainly helped that they've been able to shoot a higher percentage, come back, set their D, try to deny Clark.
Stolke shot it much better from the line of late, but misses both there. And Cardoso just able to stay in bounds. Key missed free throws from Stolke, who had been at about 72% over her last 8 games, but just 46% in her career. A falter falls, Johnson capitalizes.
I'm so impressed with Tessa Johnson.
And we've seen it throughout this tournament, Rebecca, how many times she has hit big shots. Maybe not this depth of production from her throughout the tournament, but she's had key timely baskets throughout. Clark wanted a whistle, did not get it, does get the roll. Clark up to 27. Here's Fulwiley, barges in and finishes. Mylasia Fulwiley and Tessa Johnson, the keys for South Carolina. And a foul is going to be on Raven Johnson, and that will be her 2nd. Here are today's Star Stories, brought to you by Honda. Caitlin Clark got off to a torrid start at 18 points in the first quarter. Iowa had built an 11-point lead early, and South Carolina went to its bench. And Dawn Staley pushed the right buttons with Tessa Johnson and Mylasia Fulwiley. Here's Stolke. Stolke turns the corner. Kick ball, we'll keep it here. 8:30 to go in this 4th quarter, and South Carolina an 11-point lead.
Is Dawn Staley a button pusher or a string puller?
She does both. The puppet master and running the control room. Martin turns, can't hit. And you can see a little shrug of the shoulders afterward from Caitlin Clark. Fulwiley dumps it in. Kids can't finish. Cardoso feels inevitable on the interior. It's a 13-point South Carolina lead. Nice look. Martin gets fouled. And Kate Martin will go to the line to shoot 2.
The overwhelming size inside by South Carolina, in particular, Camila Cardoso. Kitts misses, Cardoso right there, reaches up. What are you going to do with that? She's been playing with a different ferocity as well in the last couple of weeks in terms of her demanding the basketball offensively and getting to the glass as well.
Holly?
Well, Dawn Staley isn't just a button pusher or string puller. It's not all sunshine and roses. There was a hard point in this season when she had to teach the freshmen accountability, in particular Mylasia Fulwiley. She didn't play in a game, and it was a hard conversation with her mom, and Dawn said, I have to teach them in these moments. Since then, Mylasia's been one of the best defensive players on the team. She said, I never want to feel that way again. Dawn Staley holding her accountable has made her better for this moment.
And you talk about that conversation with the family, Holly, as Kitts on the offensive glass puts it home. Dawn Staley, we asked of everything you've accomplished as a player, as a coach. You see this moment in women's basketball. What means most to you when you think about your own contributions as a Falter gets fouled from behind by Fulwiley? And Dawn said the relationship she has, not just with the players, but with the significant people in their lives. Said that is truly the thing she's most proud of with all that she's accomplished in this game.
In a game that Holly referring to, the North Carolina game earlier in the year where Fulwiley only played 3 minutes. Dawn didn't like the way she was defending, and what was remarkable to me about that game, it was close. She put a player, and it could have cost them a game having her on the bench, but the lessons are that important to teach young players.
Now, if you're Iowa, you've come back from deficits before. Trailed by 12 to UConn, came back and won. Trailed by double digits in the Big Ten championship game against Nebraska, came back and won. They trailed by 12 here, 7:20 to go in the fourth. Johnson can't bank it in. There's a stop from Iowa. Clark zips it ahead for Wiley, able to knock it out of bounds.
The difference between this game and those previous games you mentioned, as you see this, like against most guard defenders, that's getting through. Malaysia Fulwiley, she can dunk a basketball, able to get up there and deflect, but those other teams, Ryan, didn't have the offensive rebounding ability that this South Carolina team has.
Clark didn't get much space there with Hall on her. Clark, the crossover, and the hit from three. A big one for Iowa. Can they build off it? 30 for Clark. Fulwiley gets denied. Martin has it. Clark wants it. Clark races to Martin to grab it. She'll fire. In and out. Kept alive to Marshall. Her three is good. Game back on. An 8-0 Iowa run. Hall, mid-range, no. Rebound, a Falter. A Falter gets it poked from behind and taken by Hall. And not a wise play there from Sydney Falter.
But exceptional energy by Ashlyn Watkins as well, chasing down.
Watkins, Hall, and Fulwiley were all after, and Clark is called for the foul, or will it be Martin? They both were there, and Tessa Johnson will go to the line.
This foul is not called on Caitlin Clark on the block, but it's Kate Martin right there. Yes, that's the right call.
Clark is upset because she knows her contact was clean, but Martin hit the arm of Johnson. This is the second foul on Kate Martin as Tessa Johnson hits the free throw. South Carolina 3 for 8 from the line now today. Just a huge stop in transition a moment ago as Iowa was starting to build some momentum. Cardoso back in. How about the bench points? 36-0 advantage for South Carolina.
It's one of the great assets all season long of this South Carolina team.
Clark wheeling, taking, short. And South Carolina has been able to steady things after that 8-0 Iowa run. Johnson trying to get it inside. Watkins surrounded. Still plenty of time to operate for South Carolina. Cardoso finds Johnson, her three, in and out. Cardoso the rebound and a held ball. No, a travel. A travel from Cardoso, and South Carolina turns it over. Dawn Staley not so sure.
Iowa, though, needs to play nearly flawless defense, not only initially, but getting on the glass.
Here's Clark. Martin into the lane. Martin off of South Carolina. And it stays with Iowa. Let's see. Ooh, I'm not sure there's a travel there.
Jump ball.
Yeah, I think it's a held ball, which the possession arrow belongs with South Carolina, so would have been their basketball. Clark finds the cutter. Martin lays it in. 6-point game. Coming on 5 minutes to go for the national championship. 16 for Kate Martin. Final college game for her, Gabby Marshall, Caitlin Clark, and then Camila Cardoso for South Carolina. Shot clock fading. Johnson's jumper off the mark. Watkins, and a foul is called on Martin. It will be her third. 4:39 to go in the fourth quarter. All the action you could hope for. A two-possession game. South Carolina on the brink of perfection. Iowa seeking the comeback and its first national championship. Let's check out our most reliable team, brought to you by Xfinity. Well, South Carolina has certainly been the most reliable team in the country in recent years. Last year, we're undefeated until falling to Iowa in the semifinals. They have 5 players selected to the WNBA draft, including our colleague Aaliyah Boston, you will hear on the postgame. Then this year, what do? Well, they just go 37-0 in the national championship game, trying to become the first undefeated champions since 2016. And after all the players they lost, not many people picked them to be back in this moment. And we asked Dawn Staley and her players, was there a moment during the season when you realized, oh, we're going to be really good? And all of them said that opening game in Paris is when they understood, oh, no, we could be special again.
I think that's when the rest of the basketball world realized it as well.
6-point game here, 4:39 to go in the fourth. Iowa has made a push after trailing by 14. Hall, mid-range, yes. A big one for Bree Hall, the vocal leader of this South Carolina squad. Clark has 30. Clark will drive it. Squeezes it off of a leg. Marshall able to save it. And Iowa still has possession. A Falter gets pushed, banks it in, plus the foul.
Gabby Marshall with only 6 points in this game, but that hustle play was huge to get that basketball before it crossed the line or touched the line. Saves it to a Falter, and he just takes it confidently to the rim.
Third foul on Hall as a Falter completes the three-point play. It's a 5-point game. 4:10 to go in the championship. Powell creeping back, was 3 for 3 from 3 in the first half. Johnson, catch, fire, no, rebound, Clark. Clark lost the handle, gets it back from Martin. Clark into the corner. Marshall resets with Martin. 10 to shoot. Martin into the paint, and she traveled. Huge turnover there from Iowa. (80-75), South Carolina in front. 3:20 to go in the fourth. Johnson given space. Not taking this time. She struggled with her shot today, 1 of 10. Powell, 5 to shoot. Powell looking for an angle, gets fouled with 2.2 on the shot clock. Tahina Powell creating an opportunity.
Interesting to note that Addison O'Grady has gotten considerable minutes here in this fourth quarter. A little bit more size and strength against Cardoso.
Clearly a foul on a Falter who grabs the wrist.
Nice step through by Tahina Powell.
Rebecca, you talked about it. Tahina Powell chatted with us in Paris, said last year watching the semifinal game against Iowa, looked at South Carolina's inability to shoot from deep and said they could use me. Transferred here, it's been a perfect fit.
It was before she had made the decision to transfer to South Carolina, and she said, I was thinking that could be me out there making shots.
Iowa in the bonus. South Carolina leading by 6. Iowa still with 1 foul to give. Clark has it knocked away. Martin on the drive. O'Grady gets denied. Cardoso gobbles it up.
Outstanding defense by Raven Johnson on Caitlin Clark, fighting over that screen.
Cardoso 13 points, 13 rebounds, and 3 blocks. 2:40 to go. 6-point South Carolina lead. Here's Johnson. Johnson, the pull-up. No. Rebound. Snared. Cardoso. Unstoppable. Clark launches. Won't go. Long rebound, Johnson. And was that the last gasp from Iowa?
Dawn Staley telling Johnson, settle in, understanding time and score and the advantage she has.
Johnson gets fouled by Clark. Iowa had 1 to give.
The separator, Camila Cardoso, because of what she does on both ends. Huge block here, fighting, getting position, corralling, finishing off balance. What a day she has had.
Dawn Staley has talked to us about how determined Cardoso has been during this tournament. Felt like her announcing her decision to go pro helped free her up a little bit, make her enjoy this run even more.
15 points, 15 boards.
3 blocks as well. Pow's 3 off the mark. Rebound hits the floor, and it's going to stay here as Iowa gets called for the foul. And South Carolina is going to go to the line. The Iowa fans perplexed at that whistle.
Kate Martin here, boxing out. It's the right hand hold. It's the right hand hold. Right, watch her right hand, puts it. You're good there until you have the hold on the right side.
And it wasn't necessary, I don't think, either from Martin. I believe it should be Watkins shooting these free throws. And the officials are going to talk about it. That is foul number 4 on Martin, and it is Watkins who will go to the line. 47% as a freshman, 55.5% this year. And this is the first. There is still plenty of time for Iowa. Down 8, 1:47 to go.
Talked about it a lot in the Iowa-UConn game at the end. Boxing out on the free throw is important.
Especially when Cardoso's involved. Watkins hits the second. 9-point South Carolina lead. Clark on the drive. Clark the flip. Forced it up. Rebound Johnson. A couple of forces in a row from Clark. And both of them fruitless. The South Carolina faithful can start to sense it. Iowa has to foul. That's what Lisa Bluter wants, or at least pressure. And now Caitlin Clark will foul Raven Johnson. You know, Caitlin Clark was asked yesterday, Rebecca, about her legacy. She had such a wonderful answer. Asked about whether or not this game factors into it. She said, I don't want my legacy to be I won this amount of games or scored this amount of points. I hope it's what I was able to do for the game of women's basketball. I hope it's the young boys and girls that were inspired by this sport, but dream to do what they want to do in their lives. For me, I don't need to validate myself within 40 minutes. I don't think that's a fair assessment. South Carolina to stop. Iowa will have to foul again. They do, and Powell goes to the line.
They allowed South Carolina to burn about 15 seconds the last 2 possessions by not fouling quicker.
These team records within this season for Caitlin Clark. Career points, single season points, career threes, single season threes. As South Carolina closes in on a championship. They talked about this being a back game. After Iowa beating them last year, Clark on the drive, elevates, can't finish. Cardoso Johnson plows ahead. Farts are able to come up with a steal, and Iowa will take a timeout with 53.5 seconds remaining in this fourth quarter. And Dawn Staley's team right at the doorstep of an unblemished season.
South Carolina team that's done in this championship game what they have done all season long. Their identity, shooting the ball efficiently, getting stops consistently on the defensive end, and then their bench and how they can wear you down and uplift themselves.
A 37-0 advantage off the bench for South Carolina. And as you've seen from this game, they were second in the country in bench scoring, and that's not just because they were blowing teams out and their bench was getting a lot of minutes. They have used all 9 players of their rotation in any spot at any time. Martin chucks it in. Stolke catches. Clark has it taken away by Johnson. And now will Iowa back off? And it looks like they will. Dawn Staley telling Raven Johnson, do not shoot. What a crescendo here this afternoon for women's basketball. As Molly Davis, who has been injured and unable to play, comes to the scorer's table so she can touch the floor one last time. And Caitlin Clark says goodbye to college basketball.
No one has done more to grow the popularity in a broad way of this game in the history of the game than Caitlin Clark.
Camila Cardoso checks out for South Carolina, a career-high 17 rebounds for her. Clark finishes with 30 points. 6 seconds to go. Perfection with a touch of sweet redemption. Undefeated South Carolina has won its 3rd national championship. $87-75 the final, as South Carolina becomes just the 5th program to win 3 national championships. You see the tears in the eyes of Dawn Staley as Caitlin Clark gets a handshake from the South Carolina coaching staff. The all-time leading scorer in Division I history. And today is the final time we see Caitlin Clark in a number 22 Iowa jersey. As we send things over to Holly Rowe.
Coach, you're one of the toughest to ever come out of Philly. We don't see these tears from you often. Why tonight?
God. Uncommon favor. Uncommon favor. So
It took something from everyone. A freshman, Tessa Johnson leading the way. Camilla on the boards with a career high. Bree Hall with timely shots. It was everyone like it's been all season. How is that the imprint of this group?
I'm going to tell you, Winston Gandy did a hell of a job on this scout. A hell of a job. He lost a lot of sleep. We had very little prep time. He explained it in a way that our kids could lock in and execute, and they weren't going to be denied. So I'm so incredibly happy for our players. It doesn't always end like you want it to end, much like last year. But my freshies are at the top of my heart because they wanted this, and I hope we can erase whatever pain they had last year experiencing not being able to finish it here. So I'm just super proud of where I work. I'm super proud of our fans. I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's unbelievable.
You've given this group a lot of leeway this year. You call them the daycare. You've had to coach a different way. You've given them this freedom just like this moment. How have you allowed them to be exactly who they are?
You have to let young people be who they are, but you also have to guide them and help them navigate through this tough world. But when young people lock in and have a belief and have a trust, and their parents have that same trust, this is what can happen. They made history. They etched their names in the history books when this is the unlikeliest group to do it. And sometimes, I mean, God is funny like that. He's funny. He rips your heart out, and he makes you believe. He makes you believe the unimaginable. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Dawn Staley, a champion once again in Caitlin Clark's collegiate career, which has captured the consciousness of this country and dazzled sports fans over the last 2 seasons, ends today in Cleveland. Back-to-back trips to the national championship game for Caitlin Clark, Lisa Bluter in Iowa, but once again they fall just short. Well, this year, certainly South Carolina could get it done from the perimeter. Let's send things over to Holly Rowe.
Well, Tahina, you came to South Carolina because you wanted to be around people who wanted to be great. But you were great tonight. These were crucial threes. How did you bring them to the promised land?
Man, it's a team effort, man. We've come a long way. There's a long journey. You know, I have this little freshman that's beside me, has a game of her life today, and I'm just so proud of our team. And it feels great. It hasn't sunk in yet, man.
I think about your family in this moment. Your dad had you working out extra when you're like 8 years old. Your brothers move wherever you go. How do you describe what your family poured into you tonight?
They're so important to me, man. I'm just so happy and blessed to, have them here with me. And man, I bet my dad's crying right now. He's probably even mad that I said that, but he's probably emotional right now. I miss you, Dad and Mom. Love y'all.
Tessa, you are a freshman. You come into the national championship game and you just are unbothered by the stage. What was your mindset like on your first couple of threes?
Well, I wanted to win. Our team, we want to win, and my teammates are just encouraging, always having my back, telling me, play how you play. So I just did that.
I think there's a lot of people that might get nervous, that might think they're letting their team down, or how do I perform on this stage? Why didn't you feel like that tonight? It didn't show.
I don't feel pressure because the team that I have and the coaches that I have, they're like, no matter if I make a mistake, they're always going to encourage me, and they're never going to let me give up on myself.
Your teammates, they could be mad that you're getting all this playing time in the huddle tonight. How is it that you are all so unselfish that no matter whose night it is, that's okay?
The culture that Coach Staley built, the atmosphere, the environment that we're in, we're unselfish people, and that's how we win it.
I know your mom and dad are here, your 2 sisters that play basketball, your brother Jeremiah. What do you say to your family, Tessa?
I love you all, and I couldn't do it without you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, South Carolina celebrates just the 10th undefeated champion in the history of women's college basketball. Tears of joy from Dawn Staley. A third championship for her Gamecocks. Nobody expected it with this group after losing all 5 starters, but they delivered time and time again, including today, going up against the best player in the nation. While South Carolina celebrates, Caitlin Clark says goodbye. Well, congratulations to the national champions, the South Carolina Gamecocks. Champions for a 3rd time. Yeah, in Columbia, they are ready to celebrate. It's old hat at this point. They're used to it. And the confetti flies once again for South Carolina. A 2nd championship in the last 3 seasons. Let's take a look at our Capital One rewarding performance.
The rewarding performance was the separator. Camila Cardoso, the 6'7" center. She was virtually unstoppable in this game. Finished with 15 points on 7 of 14 from the floor. Blocking shots, 3 of them on the day. 17 rebounds, 7 of them on the offensive end. Iowa simply did not have an answer for that young woman.
Cardoso, the separator, according to Dawn Staley, and yes, she was once again today. 87-75 the final in the national championship game as South Carolina, despite losing all 5 of its starters from a season ago, climbs back to the top of the college basketball world. Take a look at the most national titles by coach. Gino Auriemma with 11. Pat Summitt with 8. Kim Mulkey with 4. And Tara Vanderveer and Dawn Staley now with 3. Those are the only 5 coaches with at least 3 national championships.
And with the performance we saw from South Carolina's freshmen today, I don't think South Carolina's done with that number 3.
Yeah, not hard to imagine that number growing, and soon. Not hard to imagine the other teams around the country and coaches saying, wait, Tessa Johnson and Mylacia Fulwiley are just getting started? Both were so key off the bench. And we saw how connected this group was, Rebecca, throughout the week. There really hasn't been long moments of jealousy about minutes or concerns. They truly have been comfortable and confident with their roles and sharing the love throughout this season. And that is what has been at the heart of Dawn Staley being able to play this 9-player rotation. I mean, not a single one of their players averaged more than 28 minutes.
It is fun to play unselfish basketball. It is fun to watch unselfish basketball. And certainly the 9 women who have made up the core of this South Carolina team have enjoyed playing with one another all season long. And it's been a team that's been fun to watch all season long.
And how about this, Rebecca? Caitlin Clark, a record 18 points in the first quarter. After that, South Carolina made Raven Johnson her primary defender. Clark went just 5 of 20 following that throughout the rest of the game. Johnson talked about this being personal. She did not shoot it well today. It was just 1 of 11. But she really performed on the defensive end.
We saw how hard she worked to try to force Caitlin Clark to go right, how hard she worked fighting over screens. It takes a lot of effort, especially when your shot's not dropping, to keep up that intensity on the defensive end of the floor. And Raven Johnson certainly did that all game long.
All right, time to send things over to Holly Rowe at the podium.
Ryan, we're having a dance party. We're not quite ready for you because we're having fun up here. But Dawn is here. Coach Staley's coming. Coach Staley, are you ready? We're still getting hugs. We're still getting hugs. Well, thank you to everyone who's here tonight. Women's basketball is having its best season in the history of the sport, and we could not do it without every single person in this building. We are so very grateful. Joining me on stage to help present the trophy, the Vice President of Women's Basketball for the NCAA, Lynn Holzman, and the Chair of the Division I Women's Basketball Committee, Lisa Peterson. Now to present the trophy.
Wow, what a tournament, what a game. On behalf of the NCAA and the Division I Women's Basketball Committee, I'd like to present the 2024 National Championship Trophy to Coach Dawn Staley and the South Carolina Gamecocks.
Coach Staley likes confetti. We know this. Coach, every person on this stage has had a critical role. I look at Sanaya here with the trophy. All of the players, Bree Hall stepping up, hitting crucial shots. How was this a collection of effort tonight to achieve perfection?
Before I do anything, I gotta give honor to the Most High God for allowing us to be back at the same place in which we had sad tears. And I just want you to know that the God I serve, when he closes a door, he opens up a door that's giving you unimaginable success. This is uncommon favor.
Coach, it really is, and you know, I thought you were going to say when he closes the door, he opens a window, because the glass is really why you won this game tonight, the rebounding. How do you describe the impact that Camila Cardoso has had on your team, a career-high 17 boards tonight?
Camila Cardoso was not going to let us lose a game in the NCAA tournament. She played through an injury. She played like one of the top picks in the WNBA draft, and her teammates did something that no other teammates have ever done for anybody that went to the WNBA in our program. They send her off as a national champion. So this is history for us.
I would like to announce our most outstanding player today. The most outstanding player for the 2024 NCAA Championship is, from Montes Claros, Brazil, Camila Cardoso. Coach Staley, you've just won the national championship. Where are you headed next?
I'm headed to Disney World!
She said Disney World.
I love it. Before we get out of here, I do want to give this young woman a shout out. Chloe Kitts, you led this team in rebounding in the half. You've been up and down. Your defense, Raven Johnson. I wish I could literally interview every young person up here because you were crucial. How important is this for you after everything you've fought through?
I mean, it feels amazing. I've been through so many ups and downs from last year, and I'm just so excited that I'm able to celebrate a national championship with my teammates. I love everyone, and I'm very excited.
Thank you. And Raven, your defense tonight was brilliant. I know you wanted Raven's Revenge Tour all year long. Let's talk about the defense.
All I have to say is the revenge tour is over.
Congratulations. Oh, Dawn wants to say one more thing.
I really would just like to say that I have to congratulate Iowa on an incredible season. Awesome, awesome. And I want to personally thank Caitlin Clark for lifting up our sport. She carried a heavy load for our sport. And it just is not going to stop here on the collegiate tour. But when she is the #1 pick in the WNBA draft, she's gonna lift that league up as well. So Caitlin Clark, if you're out there, you are one of the GOATs of our games. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you. Be sure and support all of these women next year. Watch the WNBA. The draft is April 15th. And thank you to everybody. Congratulations to your 2024 national champions, the South Carolina Gamecocks. Yeah! Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Holly. What an incredibly classy moment there with Dawn Staley recognizing Caitlin Clark. And South Carolina celebrates in the confetti as our power team at the desk. Elle Duncan, Andrea Carter, Chinea Gumake, Carolyn Peck, Aaliyah Boston, ready to go.